भैया souls, spirits, and angels, welcome you all in this scary event, Spooky Do. Today, myself, Bhutnath, Chandramukhi, Manjulika, Pasupathy, and Ostri are gathered here to scare you in this parliament of ghosts. You will have to fear after hearing these stories. So let's begin this fear. For some time now, the village of Kuldhara has been source of immense speculation and fascination for those who have interest in the supernatural. Sometime at the turn of the last decade, the abandoned village came into the public eye when people started writing about it. They started writing about the paranormal experiences they had in Kuldhara. Several studies have suggested that the villages was abandoned over a period of time for reason such as drying up of wells, excessive taxes by Jaisalmer's Prime Minister Salim Singh. However, the legends have a different stories to tell, and that Prime Minister Salim Singh plays a crucial role in them. 200 years ago, Kuldhara, which was once a prosperous town, is now an abandoned ghost village. Shrouded in the mystery, it is located 17 kilometers away from the town of Jaisalmer. As you step into the village, walk through the silent, dusty lanes of the broken houses and shambles, an eerie feeling creeps in, sending a shiver down the spine. During the 12th century, the village was the settlement area of Paliwal Brahmins, natives of the village Pali, who had migrated to Kuldhara for survival. The village became a rather prosperous land thanks to their ability to grow mammoth crops in the barren land. The village was a well-planned township with straight roads and had 600 double-storied, well-designed houses. But unfortunately, during one night in 1825, the people of Kuldhara and the nearby 84 villages vanished in the dark. No one till date knows as to where all the people had vanished or what happened to them. Legend has it that then Diwan Salim Singh had his lucarious eyes on the village's head's daughter and insisted marrying her with or without her consent, or anyone's consent for that matter. He threatened the villagers, saying that they would face the consequences if they tried to come in his way. Known for his evil dispositions, the villagers were aware that they couldn't stand a chance against the Divan. At the same time, they didn't want to give up on their self respect as well. Hence, they unanimously decided and fled away from the village overnight, leaving behind their homes and their belongings. It is said that before leaving the village, they had cursed Kuldhara such that no one can ever settle here. This curse remains true till date, as the village is abandoned from the settlement for about 200 years ago. Leave settlement. Nobody has been able to spend a peaceful night in this village. Those who have visited the Kuldhara and spent their night would not able to come back, and if they come back with horrific experiences, with the voices of ghungroos, with the voices of crying children. The mysterious part is no one had seen thousand odd people live their village. No one knows where they had resettled or what had actually happened to them. The only thing that is known is that they cursed the town before they left, and no one would ever be able to settle in Kuldhara again. There is a small temple in the starting of the village, and as the sun sets, the gates of Kuldhara are shut by the neighboring villagers. And recently, in 2015, there was a team of 18 people from Delhi's paranormal society who stayed in this village for 12 hours and reported strange incidents in this village, from moving shadows to haunting voices, a sudden temperature drop of 41 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius within few streets of the villages. This was the story of Kuldhara. Nobody still dares to visit the place. Now, let's move forward. I would like to call RJ Tirth, who is representing as Pasupathy, for continuing this spooky tour.
Omali Bomali. So this is based on the true event which happened with someone villagers in the Gujarat. So there's a place near a village where no one is allowed to go, but some brave men go with their car. And it's said that no one has returned from this when they go by the car. So one incident happened when one brave man really went with his car during night. There was a winter night around 3 o'clock. So there were two friends went to the village, and mysterious thing is like no one knows the place. Like there's not a particular name of that village. So they went there by 3 o'clock, and they encountered a little shadow coming towards them, and it's enlarging, and something hard struck to their wheels, and they don't know, and their car broke down. It is often said that ghosts don't like vehicles and all. I don't know. Ghost is still hungry about it. He doesn't allow us to enter anyone to his village. And from that, the two-person came without the vehicle, and their vehicle disappeared after the breakdown. This is some supernatural thing occurred to them, what I heard from them. And now I pass on this to RJ Supreet Ami Monjolika.
The story, okay, so I would never would want to be stuck in a place like that. I would just run away, leave my car and go. I cannot stand like this. Or even wait for anybody. Like waiting for someone is really crazy. Your friends are really brave, I guess. I don't even stay in my room when it's dark. So it's weird. So I kinda knew a friend, this old friend of mine, and her uncle. So her uncle is like quite an adventurer. So he would go around and he would go around and he would like move and he would encounter so many different things that nobody really knows. Like nobody can't explain. So once this happened, this one particular incident that my friend told me about, it's it's really very normal to listen to. Like it doesn't scare you that much. It's like it can happen any day. It's not like something crazy or a full complete village being abandoned because of some spirit. Like it's really simple and very normal, but it still scares me. So once the uncle and his friend, they were coming back from a late night movie show. Like it was like 30 years ago or something, a lesser infrastructure and everything. So when they were coming back in the way to their house, they have this one particular stretch of road which is covered by trees on both the sides. So it's basically moving through a forest. So what exactly happened is they found a woman, pretty normal looking woman in pretty normal clothes. So she was alone and nobody with her. So the uncle and his friend asked, "It's not safe to stay here on this road. You can come with us if you want, walk with us. We are going to the nearest town." And she was like, "Okay, maybe I can walk with you." They started walking. It was really dark, no lights and no buildings nearby. That was the time when very less buildings were there and no cars usually. Like the amount of vehicles was very less. So Oh, when they started walking, the woman suddenly said that she needs water. Now, where do they find water in the middle of the forest? So she suggested that there's a well nearby. They should go there. So the uncle's friend was suspicious of this woman. So he said, I know another well which is nearby. We can go there and it's sure we can find water there. So they moved, they walked and walked. The woman again said, there's another well here. Please come with me. I just need a little water. The uncle and his friend said, we can go a little ahead. There's another well. We should keep walking. This is not the right time to be staying out. So the woman said nothing, and slowly they walked and walked and they reached the town. Now, as soon as the lights came in, there were very less people out, obviously. 1 o'clock in the 1 o'clock at night, nobody really comes out of their house, right? So they were alone, nobody there. So as soon as the lights start coming in, the woman, her steps slowed down and she was walking behind them. And there's literally no place to go. It's just open area with a few buildings. There's no place to hide. So when they reach there, they go and they call a shopkeeper to bring a glass of water for the woman. But as soon as they turn back, there's nobody there. There's no place to hide. They searched for her for some time. Like some them, she must have gone somewhere. Like where? Like she cannot just vanish, right? But they couldn't find her. So when the uncle and his friend went home, uh, they told everyone about what they have just witnessed. And I guess the uncle, my friend's uncle, was really lucky for having his friend there because there basically chance of having a well in a forest is really less. Wells are generally in the places where there are people and houses and huts, villages. The chances of the well that the woman was talking about was really, really less. So I guess they were lucky that there were two people together. It's a weird thing. That's not the only once that road has been said to be haunted. So all the people in the town, they had different stories. Sometimes it's a woman who's asking for help for her husband who is injured lying in the forest. The other times it's someone asking for a lift. Different stories. Nobody really knows which one is the right one. But it's still said to be haunted and people rarely go there after 12 o'clock. That is my story, I guess. Now I'll pass it over to RJ Sneha Biswas, post 3.
Oh, story, Kalana. Everyone has heard of it, right? But what about the story that I'm going to say? Horror stories with children and big infrastructure, a lonely house, a granny, sound more spooky, does it? Well, I am going to speak about a story which is mine or might not be. It can be with any one of you. So be precautious. The story is about a child. I would represent the child, probably my childhood. Well, so I am Bengali. I belong from West Bengal. And here we got the ancient British and French monuments, which are now abandoned. People do not usually live there, just like my family. We have traveled all the way throughout the world, and that house is left alone. It was left alone even when I was just around 5 years old. I was that little and always excited to move into my hometown to visit my grandma, to meet my aunties, and super excited for all of these things. But the only hindrance was the house itself. Might be the house, or something in the house, or something that I could not ever trace out. I was a child back then, and the house is mysterious. It's lonely. It got a weird silence, screaming, screeching to come out of it. Well, this incident is when I was small. I was a little girl, and I loved to listen to all of those haunted stories from my grandma. This night I just heard one about my own house. It obviously gave me goosebumps, but I believed it to be a story. Okay, the history of the house, it witnessed some death of some French people, and some suicide from the terrace. But nevertheless, it was not my house then until my grandpa bought it. So this night I wanted to go to the washroom, but I was so small. I didn't want to go alone. Oh gosh, I wish I didn't go alone. But anyways, everyone was sleeping. I had to go alone. I was this little girl, and I love to visit my house, but there were some rooms, there still are some rooms which are never opened. In those old house, there are big wells to store water. So the water there was really old, it was clumsy, it was dirty, it was green. No one usually uses the well water. So I went to the washroom somehow. I lit those dull yellow bulbs that used to be there in the old times. And I was just washing my legs, and there was a sudden splash. I thought, alright, might be some water droplet, or I am overhearing my splashes. I was just leaving, and the well comes in the entrance. And before leaving, I just peeked once, just once, into the well, and the water got vibrations like as if something dropped in it or something moved in it. But oh my, it was a well which was used by no one. There was nothing around the well. So where are the vibrations in the water from? I never found out. I was super scared. I just screamed. I ran to my mom. I just fell. I fell on the staircase, and I was crying. And I was so hurt. I was so bleeding, and it gave me goosebumps. And then mom came to me in the name of God, and she took me to bed. I don't know, I couldn't sleep that night. I thought that it's finally over. I am in my room, and it is all just in my head. So I was just trying to sleep. Meanwhile, I heard something. Might be someone knocking my door or something. It was a weird sound of as if someone is banging your door, but not the door of my room. I said you it's a big bungalow. It's like a haveli. So it was the banging on the door of some other room. I thought probably my granny or my auntie might go to take some water. So I ignored it and I tried to sleep. I just heard this vague yet clumsy voice again after 5 minutes. I thought I'm not sleepy, so why not go and help my granny or auntie, whosoever it might be, knocking the door of the other room. I went there with the with the wound in my knee, and I moved room to room to search if there is some of my family member searching for water or something. We were just actually five people in the big house. It was a big house. There was no one. I I roamed door to door. There was no one. I I was so heartbroken. I was so I don't have words. Like, if I still speak of it, I get goosebumps. It was that scary. So I ran to my grandma's and auntie's room. They used to sleep in the same room. I ran to them and I just woke them up. I asked them if they were there. They're like, no, you might be dreaming. My granny was meanwhile suspicious. She just said everyone to turn on the lights of every room. And so we did it. I couldn't sleep that night. Neither could I ever trace out. When I still try to speak about it to my peers, they they just tell me to forget. You think I can forget this thing? No one can. Can you if it happened with you? So it's just all Hallelujah to the goosebumps. That's the story from my part. And over to you, Mr. Over to you, Miss Chandramukhi.
Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and bling worm's thing, lizard's legs and howlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. So, my story is about this one time I went to my mother's grandma's place. So, yeah, that would be my great grandparents' house. They live in a village around 6 kilometers from the national highway. It was towards the end of December, so the nights were still cold and long. My cousins had also come with their families. It was the first time we were visiting the place. And at that time, the village didn't have electric supply. So we were told not to leave the house after 8, as it would be pitch dark. But we all had something else in mind. By we, I mean three of my cousins and I had something else in mind. We had planned it all before on a conference call. We were supposed to act as if we are all asleep, and by 9, when everyone would have slept, we would all sneak out to have some fun. Actually, the village is surrounded by hills and forests, and we decided to go and explore the wilderness. Since we had made this plan before coming to the village, we were a little prepared with flashlights, matchsticks, and we had also gathered some sticks in the afternoon just in case we would need to fight some animals. You never know. But one thing that we didn't know was that the flashlights didn't have really nice batteries in them. Well, so no one slept at 9 because everyone had met after so long. It was supposed to be a reunion kind of thing. So we delayed our plan and waited till everyone fell asleep. We tiptoed our way out after 11 and started our little adventure. It was freezing cold, I'm not gonna lie. We had put on layers of sweaters and jackets. It was actually difficult to walk. We decided we should go to this cave we had heard during the reunion discussion.
We kept walking for around half an hour, and then suddenly, my sister just sat on the ground cross legged, saying she can't go any further. We couldn't leave her there, and of course, couldn't carry her all the way to the cave. So we dropped the idea of going to the cave altogether. We just sat there for some while, and then we thought, let's discuss some scary tales. So my cousin started off by telling this one story about a boy who had moved into a new house with his family, and he had packed a new bag full of those small ping pong balls that, when dropped on the ground, can bounce forever. But when he packed his stuff, when he unpacked it all, he couldn't find the bag. He thought he might have forgotten it to pack it, so he didn't pay much attention to that. But the next evening, when he was studying in his room on the first floor, he could hear the balls downstairs. Like the specific sound that the ping pong balls make when you drop them and they bounce forever, the same sound. He thought his sister might have taken the balls, so he rushed down at once to confront her. But he found she was actually studying there. After a few moments, they both could hear the balls on the first floor. Their parents weren't home, so they got a little scared, but decided to go and check upstairs. When he opened the door of his room, he just saw one orange ping pong ball on the floor, right in the middle of the room. Just then the doorbell rang and their parents returned home. They told their parents about what happened, but they didn't take it seriously. The kids could hear the balls quite frequently, and sometimes they heard children giggling. The boy kept the orange ball with himself. Few weeks later, during a random discussion with the neighbors, one of the neighbors told them about the family that used to live there a few years ago, but the couple moved to US after their two little children died in the house one day due to some accident. My cousin was telling all of this to us when suddenly we heard something move in a distance. We just froze at that moment. Then we heard some faint bell tinkle. We got so scared we couldn't move. We just started chanting Hanuman Chalisa. We could hear the sticks breaking, the leaves crushing, then the bell ring clearer, and the unknown presence was approaching us. We saw something shiny, like sparkling eyes, and we couldn't think of anything else but to run as fast as we could. We hurried towards the village. It wasn't a full moon night, but the clear village sky at 12 midnight allowed enough moonlight to help us identify the path once we came out of the forest. We didn't stop even for a minute, and of course, didn't turn back to look if we were being followed. We felt relieved only when we entered our house and saw our family members. We all huddled inside some blankets in a small corner, and somehow all of us fell asleep pretty quickly. When we woke up next day, we were surprised to know that the villagers were all talking about how the neighbor's cow had gone missing last night and he found it today in the woods. That's when we realized what exactly the unknown presence was in the woods last night. Or at least we consoled ourselves by thinking so. We felt so relieved and embarrassed that we got so scared by a cow. But of course, we didn't tell anyone from our family about the incident because then we would have landed into great trouble for leaving the house that late at night. We have been to the great grandparents' house again a few times, and there's even electric supply now. But we don't leave the house alone at night because even if it was just a cow that night, the experience was scary enough to make us wonder if it were actually a cow that we had seen that night or something else. So that was my time.
So, this was the spooky do of tonight. Now, let's take this fun to next level. Wait for a few moments and just enjoy. Wait for a few moments.
होठों पे लाली आंखों में गजरा होठों पे लाली आंखों में लाली आंखों में गजरा होठों पे लाली आंखों में गजरा लाली आंखों में गजरा होठों पे लाली आंखों में गजरा गाल दुनो गुलगुल्ला देखो चढ़ल जवानी रसगुल्ला देखो चढ़ल जवानी रसगुल्ला रूप के चंदवा चमकल सैया बन के चको